And I'm Greg Esposito.
Their season awards. Suns fan getting a face tattoo. That's a fun one. And Dave's B-ball index stat of the week.
All right. Welcome to the show, everybody. We're glad to have you back. I'm excited to see who all is going to join us in the chat because we like to stay interactive in the chat. Tons of great storylines this week. The first thing we're going to do is catch you up to speed, because not everybody knows everything that's going on with the Suns. But you know what? If you're listening to this podcast or watching it right now, you probably do. But I'm just going to say it anyway. The Suns had their first scrimmage the other day. They actually looked extremely focused, played very well, and they had most of the team. Now, they didn't have any more of the team than we thought they might, but they still had most of the guys going. Ricky Rubio is in Orlando. He had COVID-19 and is just now recovering. He still is trying to get his wind back. He hasn't played any kind of basketball in weeks, and he hasn't played organized basketball with the need for conditioning in 4 months like the rest of these guys. But he hasn't even had the training camp to get back into shape. So Ricky's going to ease back in, probably not play much of the scrimmages at all. Starting at point guard for him was Ty Jerome, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and that is just an abject disaster. Aaron Baines is still out with COVID-19. He says he's mostly recovered. He's feeling pretty good. He actually had his first full conditioning workout the other day at home still in his isolation, because he's staying in isolation until he gets 2 consecutive negative tests on his.
Let's be clear. He said
from COVID.
He said that his workout was running up and down the block while his kids watched him. So I don't think I don't think this is a full NBA conditioning workout here. He's doing his best.
But that's what's funny about it. So what he said is that was the first time I've actually broken a sweat and done anything really active in a month because of how strong COVID hit him. So he's barely getting back. He's still getting positive tests on the daily tests that he's getting. He can't come to Orlando until he's gotten 2 straight negative tests. So those guys we can't really expect a ton of right away, and Baines we may not be able to expect a ton of for a while.
Or anything. I mean, he said that there were 4 consecutive days when he never saw back-to-back hours. He was he slept for basically 4 straight days when he initially got COVID. I'm not sure how long it's going to take him, even when he gets to Orlando, to actually be in basketball shape, because it sounds like he took.
The good thing
though
is he's back to his short minutes though.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, he doesn't have to carry the heavy load thanks to Ayton being there and Kaminsky being healthy and in Orlando. So, but still, I don't know how long it's going to take him to feel good enough to play some major minutes when it comes to even backup minutes when it comes to helping the Suns out in Orlando. And it's crazy. He said he got it, he isolated, then his whole family got it a week or 2 later. So he's been dealing with a lot, and it explains why we were wondering why we didn't see him, why we didn't see Ricky. That was a lot of what we talked about last week. Well, now we know it's because they had COVID, and that was we suspected it was likely that, or that they wanted to spend more time with their family, and now we have our answer.
Well, and they weren't just asymptomatic waiting for positive tests or negative tests. Sorry, they were actually really sick. Now, you can say that they're, in relative basketball terms, they're in the risky age group because they're 29 plus, but that's not supposed to be risky for actual COVID. So maybe it's indiscriminate on the actual age groups in a demographic or a demo, and it's just taking all the older NBA players. I don't know, but man, those guys and Ricky still sounds sick, and Aaron Baines still sounds sick when you actually hear them talking. So what's a little bit different and weird still weird is that young guys like Elie Okobo and Jalen LeCue are still out, and there's not a timetable for their return. Otherwise, that they're expected there in Orlando, but they're just out for personal reasons. Now, I don't think it's because they're COVID positive, because the Suns have been completely tight-lipped about those situations until recently, and they actually admitted 2 of them. Why would you not admit all 4? So I really think what's happening is that Okobo was told that he's kind of out of their plans. He is a free agent at the end of the year. LeCue was probably told that he's just not going to get any minutes in Orlando, which means the Suns are taking things seriously. If the Suns start out 0-3, you might see LeCue on a plane to Orlando.
Dave, can you clarify a little bit more your Okobo statement?
Elie Okobo? Sure.
Yeah, do you have anything to back it up, or is this just guessing?
No. I got nothing to back it up.
Okay.
Nothing at all to back it up.
Okay.
I didn't mean that rudely. I just wanted to make sure you weren't. There's a difference between opinion and reporting. Yeah.
No. Thank you for correcting me. I don't want to put anything out there that's not sourced or backed up. No. Well, it's just weird that a 21-year-old, when Ricky is definitely not even there, didn't go to Orlando.
I have 2 theories on this front. I think Okobo maybe went back to France and is having difficulty with travel potentially. Just a guess again. And then I think Jalen LeCue is at his 8th grade graduation and is going to join after that. Those are my guesses.
Oh, it's quite possible that they're just with family who's sick or taking care of family who's sick. Absolutely. Or like you said, that's a very good, valid point, is that he may just be having trouble getting back out of France.
Yeah.
Well, we did get to see a lot of Ty Jerome.
LeCue is a French name, but I don't think he's French.
Really great to see Ty Jerome out there with the starters getting so many minutes. We're definitely going to break down his game.
We've changed the definition of great again, huh, Tim?
Yeah. To that, anybody watching on YouTube right now, if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. Also, hit that like button. That thumbs up button, I should say. It really does help us out with those YouTube
thumbs up.
Also wanted to give a shout out to some people that are watching live right now: Perplexed Damage, Justin, Kirito, Andrew, if I got that right, I probably didn't, and Buckdog, of course. Thank you all so very much. So we're going to go over the box scores a little bit. We're going to give our takeaways on some of the individual players as well as the playing styles. Obviously, you had Devin Booker, who was the standout player of the game in terms of the one that was getting the most attention. Mikal Bridges led the team, 14 points, backed by Dario Saric with 12 points. Deandre Ayton had 13. Devin Booker again 13. Ty Jerome. Obviously, we're going to go over a number of other players as well. One thing I did want to talk about was Monty Williams prior to the starting back up had really been talking about transition defense a bit. And he was saying that essentially the Suns weren't going to be worrying as much about transition defense as they were about crashing the boards. Having watched that game twice, I didn't see that, and I wanted to get your guys' take on perhaps if I'm missing something, or were the Suns just not executing, or what was the deal with that?
Oh, look, you always. I mean, I'm counting this as kind of or that as kind of training camp talk, and we always hear these kind of things. Oh, the team's going to be more highly focused on defense. We're going to do, and then when you get on the court, it just doesn't play out that way. And I think this is one of those cases is you can talk about, oh, this is what we're going to do strategically, but when these guys get out there, a lot of times instinct takes over and they just play the way that they usually play. And I think that's the case in game one. I'm sure Monty will go back if that's truly a point that he wants to make and stress with this group, that he'll go back and he'll push that. And we may see a little bit more in scrimmage number 2 and 3, and then into these regular bubble games. I don't know what we're calling them, but I think maybe that'll be the case. Yeah, seeding, whatever. Yeah, sure, that's the official name. Even that doesn't make a lot of sense. But
the germinating games.
I did notice it with Cam Johnson a bit. I thought he had a really good rebounding game. You know, he wasn't really getting back on transition D, but honestly, I can't remember one time I really ever saw him get back on transition D, so I don't know how much of a change it is. That's not even an insult. He just doesn't tend to be the first player running back on transition defense, right? Like, that's simply not him so far in his very short NBA career. But he did have a really nice rebounding game.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not I don't break down every single play. So I'm not that kind of analyst, or any kind of analyst actually, but I definitely don't break down every single play. I don't think the intention was that the Suns would have 5 guys dive to the basket to rebound every play. What I think the intention is that they wouldn't have 4 guys going back on transition defense with only Ayton going for the defensive rebound. But then again, I always remember Kelly Oubre crashing in there with one of the big men going for rebounds, and this time it was Cam Johnson. So you're right, Tim. There may not have been any change in how they actually execute the after-shot defense, basically. Are you going for the rebound, or are you going for the transition defense? We may not have seen it in that first scrimmage. I thought the first scrimmage was excellent, though, in terms of the team actually looking extremely focused. They were definitely ready to play, whereas the Jazz were not so much ready to play. Although the Suns had blown out the Jazz by 20 points in regular season 2 weeks before the shutdown, so it also could be that the Suns are one of those teams that has the Jazz's number. I don't know. But I think it's more likely the Jazz came out ready for a scrimmage, and the Suns came out ready to prove something.
Hey,
either way, I loved it. I thought it was fun to watch.
Hey, look, it's just more proof that Devin Booker's better than Donovan Mitchell. Yeah, that's for you, Utah Jazz fans. Enjoy.
Yeah, well, it was funny. I actually had this thought in my head that it was Booker who was scoring to put the Suns up, and then it was Mitchell scoring to keep his team into a 10 to 20 point range of deficit, which seems like that's what Booker's been dealing with his whole career, is that latter part. Yeah. So I like that.
It was just
Booker was tough in that game, man. He was so good in that game.
Yeah, I mean Devin Booker came back and there was no rust. Devin Booker is locked in. This is what we hoped for, is that we were getting fully motivated, fully engaged, ready to go Devin Booker, and that's what they have. And that could mean some interesting things for the 8 opponents on the schedule. Now, he's going to have to get help, but we saw Deandre Ayton actually look like he came back playing the way he was playing and added a few wrinkles into the game as well. I know we'll talk about that, but the first game, and I don't want to overreact because it's a glorified preseason, but that's you couldn't have been more encouraged from the first scrimmage than we came out of that Jazz game feeling. And outside of just feeling good to see Suns basketball again, even as bizarre as some of the elements of this are, it just, the results, the way they played, the way Mikal Bridges looks like he may have actually taken another step in this kind of off-season, not off-season, where he looks great. Cam Johnson was hitting shots. I mean, even CAM-PAYNING came out and looked pretty good in his first
I call them
the
Cam
team.
1 and Cam 2 because I don't like having to say full last names and all that. So Cam 1's the first one, Cam Johnson. Cam 2 is the second one, CAM-PAYNING. And so when in the intro there, Tim paused on me putting Cam 2 in the intro. That's CAM-PAYNING. So Cam 1 and Cam 2.
I just like saying campaign since we're going to be saying that a lot for other reasons between now and November. It's just fun to say it in a Suns context. So, yeah, but overall, everything looked good. Now, 2 more, there's additional scrimmages left. Then we get into these seeding games, but I could not have come out of game 1 feeling better about this team and their opportunity than I did after this Jazz game.
Yeah, we got a couple of comments in the comments section. We got a couple of notes that Devin Booker did have a couple of turnovers. It's interesting. He is one of the most aggressive passing guys in the league. I don't exactly remember his turnovers, but I think they're almost always on passes. He never gets his pocket picked. Almost never gets his pocket picked. And then there was a couple of CAM-PAYNING looked very active. We will talk about CAM-PAYNING at some point if you guys want to. He definitely looks like the guy who should be the backup to Ricky Rubio, in my opinion, just based on one game. So And there's a couple of other comments. Let's see. Can we count this as making the playoffs? Yeah, I wish.
No, you
really
cannot.
nice
So let's go through the players individually, starting with Deandre Ayton. Dave, your initial thoughts on Deandre this game?
My initial thought is Deandre Ayton looked damn good. In fact, what I tend to do now, what I'm focusing on now, is watching him on defense. I know the offense is coming, and I know we can talk about that 3 in a little bit, but man, Deandre Ayton on defense, he stifled multiple Jazz players on single possessions a lot in that first half, like just switching. And I tell you what, man, people have been talking about bigs being able to switch as the key to today's NBA. Holy crap. DeAndre Ayton has the size and the quickness to be able to switch onto a little guard and then a big center and stifle both ends. I mean, both of those guys. So I just love watching that dude on defense. He rebounds, of course, like he's just a natural rebounder. He's one of the best offensive rebounders in the game. He's extremely good on defensive rebounding as well. Really good on just natural foot movement on defense and switching. Offensively, I thought he looked really good too. He just, a couple of people pointed out that he didn't draw any fouls. Well, the Suns weren't really putting him in a position to draw fouls in this game. They were just, the Suns got anything they wanted offensively. They had 101 points in only 40 minutes of play because it was 10-minute quarters. Now, the rest of the scrimmages are full 48 minutes, so the translation isn't going to be necessary. But 101 points in 40 minutes of play, that's a really good offense.
Yeah, correct.
Ayton looked great, and Dave, to your point, defensively, he was stepping in passing lanes too. I mean, he was active. That's extremely encouraging because that was the knock after year one, and in the 30-plus games that we saw him in the regular season, he had shown a propensity to play better defense, and I'm glad to see he brought that to Orlando with him. One thing that caught me, and we know DeAndre is a pretty good passer, but there was a point in transition where he wound up with the ball and he had to take a couple dribbles and made a great pass that led to a fast break basket. I mean, it's the little things that DeAndre did very well in that game. And yes, again, we will talk about that shot that he hit. But overall, I was very impressed with Ayton, and I'm feeling good about what he'll bring. So, that's encouraging that he came out and he looked very much like the guy that was playing well and locked in and was a double-double machine earlier this year.
I did think that the last time he played Rudy Gobert, I think it was the last time, I could be wrong, but I do think that in the past we've seen Rudy Gobert outplay DeAndre Ayton, and I did not think that was the case in this game right here. As far as the pick and roll defense, I thought that he kind of played the middle a lot. To Dave's point, he's really great when he actually does end up switching and getting out on the perimeter with the guard, and that's really great to see. When he's guarding the pick and roll, though, he tends to play that middle where he's not really committing to either guy, the ball handler or the player that's rolling there, and I think that's something that he could work on a little bit. I also have noticed that
could be scheme, though.
It could be
you
scheme.
Mentioned it could be scheme. Actually, Portland, if I recall correctly, and I might be wrong, but Portland has gotten themselves into top 10 defenses several times in the last few years by doing that big man dropping on every pick and roll, because they'd rather give up a mid-range, have their guard stay out on anybody behind the three-point line, and then guard the paint and let the mid-ranges fly. And I think, that's if that's the Suns' scheme, it's because they're trying to play the odds.
Very possible. And I do want to ask you a follow-up question on the scheme, because I've noticed that on pick and roll defense, when DeAndre Ayton is involved, that he never hedges those screens at all. And I just want to see if you guys think that that's a Monty thing, what the deal is, because I don't think in that game specifically, I didn't see him hedge one screen.
We'll have to keep an eye on it. That's for sure. I don't know. I think it's got to be scheme based, because on so many possessions, DeAndre did switch defensively. I think you're talking about pick and roll and specifically, and that's got to be scheme. If he never does any thing that you're looking for, then it's got to be scheme.
And I've thought about it too. So obviously the reason for that is if you have the screener drop back really quick, that if they're hedging, essentially trapping right there at the screen, that's going to open up the roll man. So whoever is the third defender would have to come and help in that situation. Which if they have a good passing big man, that's likely going to leave somebody open in the corner. So I understand not doing it, but I also wonder if that's part of Monty just not wanting to overcomplicate the defense.
Monty did talk about his ability to actually put in the second level of schemes, offensive and defensively, in this training camp with these guys, and Ayton's been there the entire time, because he says nothing like October. Monty said recently, he's like, October was just putting in our base packages and helping people get to know each other. That first training camp of the 2019-20 season. This training camp, he was actually able to put in many more wrinkles, both offensively and defensively. So the Suns should be crisper if they're taught well on these schemes. So I don't know if it's. Sometimes you just want to keep your defense simple so that everybody can get it intuitively and make split-second decisions in the moment. But I don't think it's because of a lack of trust in his players that he's making it simpler. And I think that's the what people take away whenever you say simplifying the defensive scheme.
Greg, any thoughts?
I would be happy if they, regardless of what the scheme is, if they come out and play out of this training camp like they did out of the original training camp, because that means they'll actually have a chance to make some noise here in Orlando, because they ran the table, not ran the table, but they played immensely well, and that was when we all got very excited about the potential of this team. It was without Deandre Ayton. So to Dave's point, with some time to prepare here, and with Monty actually being able to install actual elements that he wants rather than basic things like they did in October, hopefully that'll translate to an even better start out of the gates this time around, because this team, they didn't have the opportunity to learn these things and soak these in early in the season. It's to Dave's point, they were kind of getting to know Monty, getting to know the way he coaches, and now that's the benefit of this. They actually had the opportunity to reset while they're still playing meaningful games here, and it should be crisper play when they come out of this, hopefully.
Dario. So I think that what we saw out of Dario was incredibly encouraging, especially at specific points of the game. I thought that he looked really great when he was essentially the primary ball handler in a lot of those second units. But I really loved the bully ball style that we saw from Dario, even if he's not the most effective player in the post. I really like that, and I thought the passing
bumbling, stumbling.
Yeah, the passing game between him and Kaminsky on the court together looked really good as well.
Yeah, no, I think Dario is exactly the way you just described it, Tim. Dario is not a great fit with an athletic line that's got to do switching and on defense, and then on offense they're cutting to the basket constantly when they're off ball. You're right, I don't think he fits the Suns' offense, and there's a couple comments in the chat as well regarding that. However, as you said, he looked really good as a one of the few primary options on offense in the early fourth quarter, at least, and late third. When he's the guy who can make the decision with the ball and has that kind of possession, then he can be really effective, either driving into the defender on his way to the basket and drawing a foul, or passing out to another player at the right time. The problem is that when you've got Devin Booker and Ricky Rubio, guys like that out on the floor already, you don't need Dario doing his passing, so he becomes less effective offensively. But in the second unit, playing with the second unit, whether he starts a game or not, being called out, he still may end up playing most of his minutes with a second unit that needs a playmaker. And Dario can be that second unit playmaker.
Yeah, and I think he fits that mold pretty well. And then one thing you guys didn't mention is he came back in fantastic shape compared to what we've seen him. He's been doughy a lot, to be nice. I'm somebody that knows that body type very well, and
as you wiggle in your chair.
Look, I know that body type well. For the podcast listeners, you just missed something very spectacular. Go back and watch on YouTube. But Dario has tended to be a little doughy, and he came back in much better shape. So that should that should help as well, just with that conditioning. So that's exciting. But yeah, I think his. If he has any future here, which is still debatable, it is as a second unit guy. It is as a guy that can provide that ball handling on the second unit. But we've always talked about Dario does the little things. This is a guy that, there's nothing sexy about. Let's be frank about him or his game. When you have hair like that, sexy isn't the word that you ever use to describe somebody.
I love his Instagram handle is Megalodon. And I think that might be Twitter handle too.
And so that's awesome. I feel like he comes out and can add the little things, but is better with that second unit. He's not going to be the long-term answer at power forward as a starter, but he could be a great piece at the right price off the bench.
So first off, I do want to thank a new supporter of the show, the Kelly Oubre level supporter, Blaze Megatron. Thank you guys so very much, and everybody that does support the show here on YouTube or on the podcast version. Myself, Greg, Dave, we all really do appreciate you guys. I think Dario has looked doughy, if that was your quote, Greg.
Yes.
He has.
Greatest quote of all time. Don't you ever talk smack about his stash, though. I don't care what anyone says. That is an amazing stash.
I didn't say his stash was trash. I said his haircut was.
A couple of things about. Yeah, he definitely has a great stash. He's got great hair. If you're looking for that alfalfa look, I really think that Dario is. He's being different than I've seen before, and Monty Williams also said it. He said he's never heard Dario speaking so much, talking up so much, showing so much outward leadership and aggression. He was very quiet most of this year, and then because he's naturally quiet, I think. And then this training camp, Monty said he's been in incredible shape, and he's been talking a lot with the guys on the court, off the court, all that. Dario himself has been interviewed a couple of times on our Zoom chats, and he said he's not. Let me just say this. I know not everybody loves Dario, but he said he wants to be back with the Suns next year. He really likes it here. He wants to stay long term, not just for these bubble games. He says he's not even thinking about free agency. He doesn't want to think about free agency. He wants to be a part of this, and this is the Dario that moved basically out of the rotation when the team was healthy, and I think it was January, February range, where he started getting into the single digits or low teens on minutes per game, and then only came back into the rotation when Kelly Oubre got hurt, I believe, because they started doing the Oubre Bridges front court for a while with Baines and Ayton when all of them were around, rotating as the bigs. And the same Dario who lost his rotation spot mid-season and back only because of injuries now knows he's not going to have a big rotation spot once the real games start because of all the healthy bodies. And now with Aaron Baines out, maybe he'll get more time. But the dude, with that knowledge, came back and said he still wants to be with the Suns and he still wants to make this work out. And I think that's good.
And I think the hiatus and the truncated quote-unquote off-season that we're going to have free agency period actually makes it more likely that he may stay, because guys I think are going to potentially take 1 year deals in places they're familiar with, then try to rush a decision on their long-term future in the league in an off-season where the cap is likely going to be less. You're going to have less time to make that decision. I think you could see a very team-friendly deal for Dario to come back and be part of that second unit, because that time frame to make a decision in free agency is so much less. So if the Suns want him back and Dario has interest, I think we see probably a team-friendly 1 year deal that winds up with him back here.
I mean, he's what, like a $5 million player? What's his contract at this year?
I think he's 3-something this year.
Yeah, he's just
3.5 to 5. Like,
yeah.
If you can get him back at 3.5 to 5, that's
well worth it.
That's a good price for him.
That's pretty good. Yeah. I mean, as a rotational backup, I think that is a good price.
Yeah.
So I like Dario. I think, and I like that he's got the right. I was worried when he first came in that he was going to sulk if he didn't get the starting job and get big minutes on a losing team, and he might have sulked a little bit for a couple of months there, but he didn't outwardly say that he was disappointed with his. He always, when given the chance, even during the season when he lost his job, he's like, "Look, I'm just staying ready. I'm good." And then now he's just owned it. He's embraced it. And somebody in the chat commented, and I'm sorry I'm not getting names right. I think it's Leaf. Said that, look, of course, if you're going to get a multi-million-dollar offer, you're gonna suck up a little bit. Yeah, but he's going to get multiple multi-million-dollar offers that are all. If you're talking about the Suns only offering $3 to $5 million for a 1 year, he's going to get lots of those overseas and with the Suns. He's going to get more than one, so he doesn't need to talk up the Suns.
I think it speaks to the relationships Monty Williams is building with these players, too, as they trust what he's trying to do and the position he's trying to put them in to succeed, which is something we have not seen in Phoenix probably since Alvin Gentry, to be honest. So that's a big deal, the respect that these players are putting on what Monty Williams is trying to do. By the way, in the chat, a little off topic, but David Wigton says, "All hail the flaming balls," which is a reference to the YouTube subscribers and their logos. But then Buck Dog says, "Flame on," right? And I have a story about this. Flame on was actually the slogan they were going to use in, I think it was 2012 it may have been, I think it was 2012, 11-12 season where it was the shortened season where they finished 500 but had a shot at the playoffs right at the end. It was one of Nash's last years with the team. They were going to use the slogan "Flame on" if they made the playoffs. That was going to be their playoff slogan for the Suns. So fun little tidbit that I'm really glad never happened.
So I feel like we spent a lot of time on Dario. Let's move on to Ty Jerome. Monty Williams decided to start Ty.
Decided. It wasn't like he had much other choice.
Okay, I want to see a show of hands. I wish we could put polls in our YouTube chat. But I want to see a show of hands of who thought Ty Jerome would start that game. I'll bet it'd be about 0.
So Mike Conley obviously tore him up when he was handling the ball. Ty Jerome consistently misread what direction Mike Conley was going to drive in. Dave pointed out on Twitter that it seemed like Ty didn't know that Mike Conley was left-handed. But even that, I do think he was just misjudging which direction. But the thing that really stuck out to me, apart from the fact that he wasn't really controlling the offense all that well, that being said, he's in his first year, like, what do you really expect, right? But was how much he was getting lost on off-ball action.
He just looked lost in general. I mean, overall, he looked lost, and that's really disappointing because I was hoping maybe he came back, and when I saw he was going to start, I thought maybe we'll see a little bit more. Maybe there'll be something that we go, okay, that's why they invested a first-round pick in this kid. All the talk was, well, he's going to be NBA ready because he played at a school and college that prepared him for this, and he's, this and that, and long-term college guy. And I thought, okay, maybe he spent his break studying film, understanding where his deficiencies were, working on that. I mean, I think we even heard he was watching some Steve Nash film to try to figure out ways he could emulate things. He just still looked lost. There was nothing that I felt looked like he had improved in his time away.
I thought it was interesting, Monty's comments post-game. You know what? Let me just say that I really like the media access right now for these. If you can't be at the games live, it's really cool. You can just in your living room, you can join the post game Zoom with Monty Williams. I think that's pretty freaking awesome. And the players as well. And I thought Monty made the most concise, perfect comment about Ty Jerome's game. He said something along the lines of, I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but something along the lines of, look, Ty looked confident. He looked like he didn't look lost. He didn't look lost like he did earlier in the year. Just sometimes the speed of the game overwhelms him. I mean, he didn't laugh about it, but he just said, just frankly, look, man, Ty is getting better in terms of his focus and his readiness and knowing what he's supposed to do, but sometimes the speed of the game overwhelms him. That would be me as well.
Yeah, but we're not expecting you to go out there and start any kind of game at an NBA level, yet we are with Ty Jerome. So.
Yeah. I was a bit surprised, too, that Monty went that direction with the starting lineup. Obviously, Ty Jerome shouldn't be starting. I guess my thought was, look, if Monty has limited options at point guard, that it's better to mix in the one of the least capable along with your starting unit. That way your backup units do have more capable players on them. You can't just have all of your less talented players in one unit. Expect to keep that up. So, essentially making it that, that Ty was going to be the weak link in the starting unit. But you know what? That's better than a bunch in the backup unit. I honestly would have rather seen Ellie out there.
Tough though, because he's not in Orlando, so it would make it difficult for him to be out there.
With Ellie is a restricted free agent at the end of this year. His contract is up, and it looks. I mean, I would be very surprised if the Suns actually actively want to bring him back, because they've already given CAM-PAYNING a partial guarantee, very small, but still partial guarantee for next year, and then they've got Ty Jerome under full guarantee for next year. So I think Ellie knows the writing is on the wall, and that's why he's not in Orlando, but I'm just totally guessing here.
Hey, I don't think we see another minute of Ty Jerome unless there's some major injuries or they
what?
I wouldn't.
Greg,
I wouldn't
no.
that,
We're going to see a ton of Ty Jerome.
Unless they fall out of
new Ellie.
No, listen.
Ellie played a ton this year.
Unless they fall out of any chance at forcing that play-in situation.
Okay, let's make a bet.
Then,
Greg.
But look, I don't think.
Greg,
I think what we're going to see.
DoorDash to the receiver, DoorDash to the winner, on if Ty Jerome gets more than 15 minutes on Sunday, tomorrow's scrimmage.
See,
I say he gets more than 15 minutes.
The only reason I'm hesitating here is because I don't know if Ricky's going to play any minutes. If Ricky plays any minutes, I don't see it. I think the minutes are going to go to Carter and Payne, and then Ricky if he's playing. Sure, I'll take that bet. I will DoorDash.
I played 25 minutes in the first scrimmage.
DoorDash to whoever wins.
Is right.
Yes.
Yeah. So you're under 15. I'm over 15 for Sunday's scrimmage.
Fine.
So let's talk a little bit about that.
And I'm not doing DoorDash for your whole family, pal.
No, just me. And I want it for Friday's actual game, because I took time off work so I can sit there and watch the game. So I want lunch on Friday.
No, Vincent in the chat says face tattoo Espo.
No, Dave's got to get my face tattooed on his face. It'll be like a face-off situation. No, we'll do DoorDash. I think that's fair. I'm not.
Wow, no. It's got to be something more embarrassing, man. You got to do the whole pod shirtless.
Look, no, God, no. That's punishment
that's
for everybody
punishment
else, not
all,
me.
Not just a punishment.
No, it's
to
not.
Greg.
That's
Greg
not
is a sexy beast, and that's
God,
assuming
no.
that Dave, you're a sexy beast as well. Maybe we have two female watchers probably. They might enjoy.
You think
it.
that many?
Look,
probably not.
well, it'll increase if I go shirtless. No, I'm just kidding. Dave's chest looks like his face. There's just that same beard right here on his chest. We don't want to.
That's absolutely
see that.
true.
and I look like a tube of cookie dough. To go back to the Doey Dario situation, it's not pretty. It's not pretty at all.
So Jason in the chat says, "Whoa, what did I get into here?" Buck Dogs think you want to lose all of your subscribers. Trust me, we got like 3 at this point, right? So let's move on to some actual basketball.
Good thing there's not unsubscribe. Oh yeah, there is.
Let's talk about the second unit backup point guards between Payne and Carter. I really liked that combination.
I did too, and I was surprised with with Cam-Payne. I didn't know what to expect. We heard, well, the reason he wasn't in the NBA was he's not a great shooter. Well, it certainly in the first scrimmage he proved that he has something. He can actually shoot there where we weren't sure what to expect. So I didn't know, but I really liked what I saw from Cam-Payne in the minutes that he got. Jevon Carter, we know what we're going to get from that guy. You're going to get ultimate hustle. You're going to get a guy that plays defense well. He's not going to run an offense, but if you play him with another guard that can, there's some intrigue there with his game. I mean, nothing. Carter doesn't do anything in particular that you either get too disappointed about or too excited about, and I actually like that. It's consistency, which is something the Suns have lacked in spot for years. So at least you know what to expect when Monty goes to Jevon Carter, unlike when he goes to Elliot Kobo or Ty Jerome.
I thought that Payne was really just on from a defensive standpoint. I thought that if you compare him to Ty,
he's always been able to play passable D.
Pretty good defense. Pretty good defense staying in front of guys.
What I like the most about Cam-Payne is that he didn't look like the game was too much for him. So obviously, as a 4-year player, he's got some wisdom to him about keeping up with the NBA. He's already been through the first few years that these guys are trying to survive with. Jevon Carter isn't fearless, but he's also passless. So there's a problem there. But I love Jevon Carter. Look, don't at me with the Jevon Carter. He's better than you think, Dave. He is really good at what he's really good at.
Yes.
And he maximizes his ability to play basketball to his maximum abilities. But everyone knows he's not a real distributor, and even he knows it. He knows he can pass. He knows he can do things, but he's not really great at it. What he's great at is defense and disruption, and I'll talk about that with my stat of the week later in the show. He's really good at disrupting the other team's offense, but on his own offense, he's better off ball. So I really like Cam-Payne. The game does not look too big or too fast for him. I think the shot's going to come and go. He's going to make Ricky Rubio look like a sharpshooter on some days.
I see. I kind of disagree with you. You had made this statement a couple of pods ago that something comparable to that. Cam-Payne's. I mean, he's obviously not Steph Curry out there, but he's a pretty capable shooter.
He's always been. Well, okay. So here's why I say that. He's always been a bad shooter in the NBA. I'll look it up right now while we're on the call if I have a moment. But he's got a low release on his shot, like he shoots it very close to his forehead, his face. So that means he doesn't really have a lot of way to get the ball out over a defender if he's got a defender right in his face. So I just don't see how he's going to be much of a threat offensively shooting. He can make it look he's going to take a shot, which forces the defender to get up on him, and then he can pass out and get an assist. He looks like he knows what he's doing out there for sure. I just don't know that he's going to light it up from deep.
Well, you don't need him to light it up, though. You need him to simply keep the defense honest, and that's it.
His career field goal percentage is 39.7%.
Right, but I mean, let's look at. I think too that when you're judging a player's shot, that you need to look at the shot itself. Ricky Rubio shoots very flat-footed. I think Ricky Rubio is a better shooter than people give him credit for. I think it's a little bit overblown, making it seem like he can't hit a shot ever. No, Ricky Rubio can hit an open three. You know what I'm saying? Just like Jevon
He's actually
Carter.
very good on open threes. Good call, Tim. He's over 40%, one of the Suns' best open three catch-and-shoot three-point shooters.
And usually because he's 5 feet open.
Right.
but that being said, when you look at Payne and you look at his shot, like his shot looks good. So sometimes shots fall and sometimes they don't. But I do think he's a better shooter than Ricky Rubio. What stood out to me with Cam-Payne was he looked like a backup point guard. Honestly, it's been difficult to say that with consistency. Obviously, we don't have the consistency with him yet. We don't have enough of a sample size. But it's been difficult to say that about any Suns backup point guard since. What?
When they had 3 starting point guards? Yeah.
Right. And I was trying not to include those. But actually, when's the last time you could actually look at a Suns backup point guard, Elfrid Payton for 5 games, and say and even then I think he was a starting point guard, that he actually looks like a backup point guard?
Yeah, Elfrid Payton played something like 19 total games for the Suns, and he started them all. I know what you're talking about, Tim. Suns have not had a competent backup point guard since Isaiah Thomas, Goran Dragic, and Eric Bledsoe were roaming the perimeter for the Suns, for sure. And then, well, you did have Brandon Knight, and although that was until that point. So, okay. The Suns have not had a good backup point guard, competent-looking one, in years. And so it does look like Cam can at least – look, he's not the greatest, and you probably should be looking for an upgrade in the offseason. And it wouldn't be so bad to actually draft a guy who can be a combo guard with Devin Booker going forward in the draft, sign one in free agency, whatever it is. But given the options, Cam-Payne looks like the best option.
Buck Dog saying we don't talk about Brandon Knight. Yeah.
Zombie guard, Brandon Knight, yes. So
we only talk about Brandon Knight when he has one game of the year that's good is the one that beats the Suns.
Yeah, let's forget about it. But Cam-Payne is good enough to be – basically, we're settling for Mr. Right now, not Mr. Right, as backup point guard, and he should be good enough to help you through Orlando, and then you reassess in the offseason. But back to the Javon Carter point as well, I think everybody – most people except for Javon Carter fanboys and fangirls know he's the ultimate third guard. He's that third guy you want on there that you can bring in as the specialist when you need defense, when you need a certain energy, but he's not the guy that's going to carry the load behind Ricky Rubio or whoever your point guard of the future is.
Right. So let's talk about Mikal Bridges. Is he the most underrated player on the Suns? I would like to point out that he held Ingles to 6 points and also the worst plus-minus of any player on the Jazz at negative 16 points when Ingles was on the court. Obviously, it's a one-game sample size, yada, 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 but is Bridges the most underrated player for the Phoenix Suns?
I think that's kind of interesting because he's actually the third Sun that's getting a little bit of national recognition lately, and we'll talk about it a little bit later in the show. About award contention and stuff like that. But Mikal is getting some serious recognition as a defender around the league. The question is, can he be aggressive enough on offense? And Monty talked about that as well in recent interviews, that he is saying he's looking for Mikal to be more aggressive offensively. And if you look at that one scrimmage, the first half of that one scrimmage, Mikal was one of the most aggressive guys on the court offensively. He drove, he passed, he did a lot of really good things. And he took a couple of really fast catch and shoots on threes, which was great because you don't want him winding up like he's been the last couple of years. So if he can become, it's been a while now, but Tayshaun Prince is the kind of guy I think about when I think about Mikal Bridges, as far as a glue guy who can help you win a championship and is otherwise real lanky and all that. He's never your number one option, but he's also a very strong option in your lineup, and defensively is just really good. So I'm looking forward to Mikal Bridges being that guy that everyone in the country turns from underrated to overrated soon. But right now, I think you're right. He's the most underrated piece on the team. He doesn't get talked about amongst the top guys, and I think that's going to change soon, though.
Can you be both underrated and overrated at the same time?
Lots of guys end up doing that. I think Eric Bledsoe became both at once.
Eric Bledsoe was just trash.
I feel like Mikal Bridges is way overrated by, not way overhyped by a lot of us internally because we're so excited about him, and very undervalued nationally because the Suns just have not been seen a lot. Now, I think eventually the overhype that a lot of us feel for Mikal Bridges will be proven right. I mean, you see flashes of it. This guy is something special. He's got the length. He's got the offensive ability. He's starting to be more aggressive offensively, and defensively it's never been a question, his ability. So I think we're starting to see the full package with Mikal mold and come together. And next year is going to be damn exciting when it comes to Mikal Bridges, and I think that's going to be his breakout year. And you very well may have the core of the three kind of guys that can lead you back into the playoffs and with some success in Booker, Ayton, and Bridges now.
Well, let me tell you, we always said that to maximize Devin Booker's impact on winning basketball games, you need to get him to a winning situation in the fourth quarter. You need to make it so that his offense can close out a game, and that means you need good defenders around him. And until recently, we didn't know who those good defenders were going to be. We had thought maybe Mikal Bridges would be one of them, and now Deandre Ayton being another one. This is the makings. This is the makings of a really good team you've got. And actually, Ricky Rubio is a very effective defender, even at this late stage of his career. We talk him like he's 40, but he's only 29.6 years old. He'll be 30 pretty soon. But he's kind of like, that's in dog years, you know? So I think as far as putting defenders around Devin Booker to hide him is an effective way to build a team. So there's just like people did with Steve Nash. So let's not pretend Devin Booker's not the first guy who's been hidden on defense. Steph Curry gets hidden on defense on the Warriors, and he became league MVP doing that. Steve Nash got hidden on defense, became league MVP. And I think that kind of opportunity is there. I don't know if Devin Booker can ever be league MVP, but certainly that's what you do, is you make your best offensive players really good on offense, and you make them so they don't kill you on defense. And Booker and Bridges and Ayton is a threesome that can actually do a lot of damage together.
Fred, so we're kind of coming up on time. I'm not sure we're going to have enough time to get out into everything, but I do want to make sure that we get to your new segment, Dave, because I know you worked really hard on this. Before that, though, do want to take a moment to thank a supporter of the show, MT, who signed up last week. MT, thank you so very much. So if you are watching on the YouTube, you can hit the join button, I believe. Greg can go into that. If you are listening on the podcast, you can hit the support the show button, which is in the show notes below.
Yep, you hit the join button on YouTube. You got the $1, $5, and $10 option. We creatively name them. You can click on there to see how we name them, and then you get the flaming balls that you see in the chat that everybody has been hyping up. So, and
because that's what we all dream about,
and if we do,
is waking up to flaming balls on Saturday morning.
But there's a secret about those. The longer you stay subscribed, they change colors. So just keep an eye out for that. Yeah, I bet you didn't know that one, Dave.
Nope.
That flaming balls change colors if you wait long enough. That's the truth here on the solar panel. So there you go. By the way, I want to get to Dave's segment. Can we please get to Deandre Ayton hitting a three? I've been sitting here trying not to talk about it.
We went through DA. You didn't.
We're going back.
We're talking
DA.
about a three.
Man. So what I loved about that is DA took the shot in a designed set after an out of bounds. So the Suns had the ball out of bounds. For those who didn't see it yet, the two of you who didn't see it yet, the Suns gotten out of bounds under their basket. Ty Jerome was actually the guy passing the ball in from out of bounds. He passed it to the corner, to his right to the corner. DA just floated over there behind the line with Rudy Gobert kind of playing lazy defense, because DA's never taken a three and made one. And DA just kind of caught and rose up and shot it just in no thinking in a design play, and he drained it. And that was fun to see, because now that dam is broken on DA taking threes. In a chat last night, we'll talk about Andrew Lazoya, I think his last name really is, in a minute, but he did a little podcast interview while streaming while streaming Call of Duty with Devin Booker last night. And Booker's talking about how DA can make himself even more dangerous and more of a threat in the NBA by being able to just be a threat from three-point land on a catch and shoot. And it wasn't even a slow release either. It was a quick release from DA. So defenders are going to have to defend that when he gets it in rhythm. So I think that was really fun to see him make that first three. That was on his 22nd birthday. Let's hope that wasn't just his one birthday present to himself, that he doesn't give himself again until next year.
But look, the thing that struck me is that was a design play. You're coming out of an out of bounds. He was supposed to go that way. That was purposeful. And
could we talk about that design play a little bit, because I thought it was really interesting that you had a below the basket inbound, and all five guys were right there at the baseline. And I watched that play 3, 4, 5 times, just kind of looking at it and thinking, I don't remember another time when the Suns have done an inbound from under the basket and had all 5 guys on the baseline right there.
Yeah, Monty said that he's introduced new things this training camp, and a lot of that is, not a lot, but some of it is after timeout sets. So we're going to see, or after dead ball sets.
Well, good, because before they were kind of trash.
Right. So we'll see different wrinkles on that. So that was right there. It looked like a new wrinkle that got DA that corner 3 shot.
And to me,
Frank's been practicing corner 3s as well. So you'll probably see that same set when Frank's the one in the game taking that same shot.
But to me, that says that this isn't a one-time thing. Monty Williams actually believes that Ayton can shoot that shot and is trying to put him in a position to do it to gain that personal confidence, which is exciting because if Monty believes into it and it's real. It's not just Ayton doing the old Pat Burke, I'm going to chuck a 3 because I can for fun here. It was purposeful, and that's what's exciting about it for me is that means Monty believes in it, and that could be a valuable part of his game, not just in Orlando but moving forward. The other thing that tripped me out about that 3 in all these games is the corner now looks even tinier since there's so much room on the other side of the court because there's no fan sitting there. The corner 3s look like there's very, very little room for error now with stepping out of bounds. I know that's always been the reality, but visually it's that much more. And it looked really weird with Ayton being such a big guy shooting it from there.
So let's get into
Dave, Jason in the chat right now just said that Monty Williams right now at the moment we're speaking, doing this live on YouTube, is doing his daily because the Suns have an early practice today, so he's doing daily Zoom, and he just said that he does think Ricky Rubio will play in a scrimmage tomorrow. Scrimmage. But that doesn't. I'll still win the bet. I hope anyway. But he does think Rubio's going to play in the scrimmage. Although Rubio, when he was interviewed earlier this week, said he wasn't going to play much in the scrimmages. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
All right, Dave, so we got 4 or 5 minutes left, man. Let's get to this last section right here. And just so everyone knows, we are actually going to be doing some post-game YouTube live shows after all the actual games for the Suns, at least through the first week of it. So you want to tune in for that. I'm not 100% sure that we're going to be uploading them in podcast form yet, but we'll definitely be here for that. Regardless, this is Dave's B-Ball Index Stat of the Week.
Stat of the Week.
All right. Thanks, Greg. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we just this week finally got on board with a new analytics site. It's kind of new. They're constantly updating things and introducing new aspects, but they're called B-Ball Index. And you can find them on Twitter at the B-Ball Index, and you can find their website at bball-index.com. You can join individually as a subscriber of their site for $5 a month or so. Our blog is lucky enough to be able to get free access. So I've been tooling around there. Man, this is a great site. You can there's like over 100 different statistical measures that are being tracked for every player, across teams, between players, and all that. So we're going to be using this across the Brightside Podcast Network as well as brightside-of-the-sun.com, and I'll mention it weekly on the solar panel because there's tons of different views. So this week, Greg and Tim, I'm going to give you guys a choice. Which stat do you want me to cover? Do you want me to cover shot profile deterrence for the Phoenix Suns, or you want me to cover potential assists per 100 passes?
What is that, hockey assists or what?
No, it's just overall between the actual assists you get or the shot.
The shot that was missed.
Missed shots, yeah.
Yeah, let's do. Well, what do you think, Greg?
I think this sounds interesting. I don't know what the hell the other thing is. So me and analytics.
He's talking about what it's another way of eventually measuring defensive impact, right? So yeah,
let me just do both really quick because I like both of these. So shot profile deterrence is a combination because it's actually using players you defended data as well as overall efficient shots data, and this speaks to your defensive scheme as well as your individual ability as a defender. But the Suns, who do you think is worst on the Suns in deterring their opposing player from taking the shot that they want to take? Who do you think is worst?
Out of all of them?
Yeah, just don't look at my chart.
The season or the game?
Yeah, whatever. No, the season.
for the season.
Who's worst at making someone take a shot they don't want to take?
I mean, I would think it would be Uhoh or Jerome.
I'm going to say Frank Kaminsky.
Well, you guys have got the bottom three right there. So they're all Fs. They all grade out as Fs. Their shot profile deterrence is amongst the worst in the league. Frank Kaminsky is in the 0th percentile. Elliot Kobo's in the 5th percentile, and Ty Jerome is in the 8th percentile. That's bad, guys. That's really bad. Who's best on the team? Actually, Aaron Baines is best at deterring you from taking the shot you want to take. And Javon Carter, Ricky Rubio, and Mikal Bridges are all pretty good. They're all in the 69th or higher percentile in deterring, making you take the shot you didn't want to take. So that's that one. And then another stat is potential assists per 100 passes. Now this is a measure that they do basically how aggressive you are on passing, how many passes that you make actually can be shots that your teammates take. They either make the shot or they miss the shot, but you pass them into shot attempt. Okay, that's what potential assists are. Devin Booker, Ricky Rubio, and surprisingly Ty Jerome are all grayed out in the A range across the league in passes that can become shots, that turn into shots, that are potential assists. Devin Booker, Ricky Rubio, and Ty Jerome are all grayed out as A- or higher, and then Elliot Kobo and Tyler Johnson are in the B range. What this shows is that the Suns' offense is designed to get shots, and they've done a very good job. Monty has a really good offensive scheme that gets people into position to make passes to shots. They aren't just lame. In prior Suns iterations, there was a lot of just non-value passes around the perimeter and blah, blah, blah. And then eventually somebody would take a shot, and the Suns were worst in the league in assists and all that. Now the Suns are top in the league in assists because Monty's offense actually gets people into shot-taking range. So I really like that. I think what it does show is that the Suns have some really good potential assist makers on the team. And guess who's tops? Devin Booker is in the 100th percentile amongst all NBA players with 41.1. 41% of every pass Devin Booker makes ends in a shot attempt. That's pretty damn good. 100th percentile in the league.
Honestly, nothing you said there surprised me. I know you acted like Ty Jerome was a surprise, but the passing has never been the problem with Ty Jerome. We know we can pass. It's everything else. It's a Kendall Marshall effect. Okay, great, you can pass, but if you can't do any of the other stuff, we don't care about the defensive thing. I didn't think Frank would be in the 0 percentile in the league. That surprises me, but that means Kaminsky Cove, no defense, so come on in and invade us. That's basically.
Well, I mean, also Frank was playing out of position a lot.
Well, that's fair, but
and he also, there was a real limited sample size, and I think that stat, and Dave can correct me if I'm wrong, also has to do with essentially players being willing. It doesn't have to do with the field goal percentage that they hit, right? It has them being willing to take the shot at
taking the
plays.
shot.
So let's say they say, you know what, I don't respect Frank Kaminsky as a defender, so I'm going to take the shot anyway. But Frank Kaminsky makes it so it's a bad shot because they're closely defended. And they have to jump up higher. Their shot release changes, whatever the case might fucking be, right? It doesn't really judge that, so I wouldn't take too much out of that particular stat. I do really like it though because there was one individual play where Rudy Gobert, at least during the scrimmage game, got the ball down low. Ayton was guarding him, and he tried a couple of post-up moves. He couldn't quite get it, so he passed out. And it's those kind of not taken shots that are really hard to gauge when you're looking at defensive metrics.
No, I get it. I totally get it. You're right. Absolutely, Tim. But I just think it's just a switch from the prior few years for the Suns where they made a lot of passes, but they weren't high-value passes. They didn't lead to shots. So it just shows that the Suns are making a lot more value passes now.
And on that note, we do realize that we recorded before the second scrimmage game. We all talked about it. Our schedules weren't lining up, and we thought, well, it's not like a second scrimmage game is really going to change our takes too much anyway.
Oh, great. You jinxed it. There should be some damn major injury tomorrow now because you said that.
Yeah, well, you know what? It is what it is. But it's
Ricky's
really great.
Playing.
It's great to see Suns basketball back, even if it does look like a mixed preseason and summer league. It's been really great.
It's like Summer League All-Star. It's like Super Summer League. It's so fun because it looks just like when we're in Summer League, how the games are. But and it looks all kind of 2K-ish as well. But it's really fun. I just love watching basketball again.
Summer league with fancier clothes, baby. That's what we got right now. And we'll
Better players.
because we miss it. By the way,
That's right.
ever go out and get your face tattoos. Have fun with that. That's always an important thing that you should do when Deandre Ayton hits threes.
So for Dave, Greg, and myself, thank you so much for taking an hour out of your week to watch or listen to the Phoenix Suns